Well, the more I look at this thing, the worse it gets. So, to make matters worse, this does not match the schematics I have, which makes this thing really hard to work on. Yeah, like just in here, just where you'd think things were really simple, the digital circuitry, right? These are 4000 series parts. Here, 4011, 4013, so they can run off of 9 volts just fine, so you wouldn't have to do anything funny. And then over here we have a bunch of display drivers. 53247 is a really weird chip. And then over here we have a 53204P. So I've never even heard of these part numbers and stuff. If you look in my machine though, there's 74 LS04s and 74 LS47. So it's 5 volt logic. So I'm not sure where the 5 volts is coming from either. I don't know how it gets there. There's this mysterious board down here that shows up nowhere in the schematics. That board shows up nowhere. Now there is a board over here, that says a tone call unit, and it's just a little inverter. It's just a 4011 inverter. But this is all discrete logic over here, so I don't know if that's the same function or a different function. Yeah, I'm not quite sure. Anyway, the protection diode let loose on me. I don't know why. It just stopped working, so it opened up. I'm not sure why the diode went bad on me. I'm not transmitting. I have very, very low currents in this thing, 50 milliamps, so I don't know what happened. So anyway, the more I touch this thing, the more it dies. Not to mean that it's not still valuable for the channel and fun for the garage. So what I want to do, today we're going to play a little bit more with VCOs. But in the future for this thing, I was thinking, the VCO actually works very good, and it's very, very stable. And I was thinking about putting a microprocessor in here and having the microprocessor determine the frequency and then change the voltages and have like a feedback loop. It wouldn't be exactly a phase lock loop, but it definitely would be a loop. And I think that's all you need for this thing. And since I have a microprocessor in there, I thought I would tie onto these things. So this is where the phase lock loop block went in here. So I've got a lot of room inside this thing. Now there's a whole bunch of connectors on this thing, and the little CMOS chip that's in there also drove the display on the front. There's a little LED display on it, and that's being driven, I just showed it to you, by these guys. These guys are binary to BCD kind of display driver type things, right? And so, yeah, you just have 4 bits, 4 bits, 4 bits, and that's your display. And then there's 1 bit that turns on and off the other thing from a 4 to a 5. You only have 2 values there, either a 4 or a 5. What else do I know? So anyway, I thought I would tie into that with that microprocessor, with these connectors here. Now, these 2 connectors seem to be the display, plus a couple more. And I don't know what these are because the schematic doesn't match any of the connectors. So there's a bunch of connectors down here, and they're all called off with pin numbers and everything, and they don't match. The counts are wrong. Oh my God, it's just a disaster. So I thought it'd be fun to play with, though. Still, I still think it's worth the money. So I think today, though, we'll play with VCOs a little bit more. Last time I mentioned using 1N 4007s as PIN diodes or varactors. So I mentioned the circuit on the last video. This is out of the October 2001 QST. And this is a simple little circuit. It's a receiver. Probably not a great one. But anyway, it has a local oscillator here that has tuning using 1N 4002s. So I thought we'd maybe prototype this little area here and see if we can't get that oscillator to tune using the 1N 4000 series parts. All right, so I had plans on showing you this circuit, but it doesn't work. So I failed. It was going to be a demo of a VCO circuit thing, and it just completely failed. I wired it all up, and it just didn't work at all. And so I wanted to leave it in the video because I'm always encouraging people to go out in the garage and do things, and don't be afraid to fail. So here's a great instance of me failing. Okay, I failed miserably. It took me a couple hours to wire this up and troubleshoot it and everything, and the troubleshooting led to nothing. So I'm going to throw this one away and start over on a different one. So anyway, so the video's not going to be about that one today. Okay, so not to be discouraged. Whenever I get into a problem where I've completely failed, I like to go do something completely different. I do this all the time with software. I'll be writing software and I'll get to a point where I'm just kind of at a dead end of why the software's not working, and it usually is like I need to stop, go do something else, and come back, the next day or a day after that, and then suddenly just miraculously works the second time. So yeah, just go take a break, go do something else. So let's talk about this radio. I want to get my money's worth out of this radio. So let's take a look at kind of more of a block diagram of radios. This one is nice because it's a double conversion heterodyne. Double conversion, what does that mean? Well, it means that the antenna gets amplified and it has a pre-selector filter. So this radio is good from 144 to 146. So there's a filter on the front that does that. And then you run it through a mixer, and the mixer is going to be 133.3 to 135.3. And that's so that when you mix the incoming signal with this, you will always get 10.7. So it's a lot like the spectrum analyzer block diagrams that we've seen. A lot of these RF circuits all look the same. So we're gonna down convert whatever signal comes in. We're going to down convert it to 10.7. So this is what we call our intermediate frequency, IF. So we have an IF of 10.7 megahertz. Okay, and that allows us to run it through a real nice filter and do even finer selection on the station that we want to listen to. And then we're going to mix it a second time in this radio. Now, a lot of times you can down convert it directly to audio frequency, so you have a single conversion. But this one has a double conversion. First, it gets converted to 10.7 megahertz, and then it gets converted to 455 kilohertz. Okay, kilohertz. And these two frequencies are probably the most common IF frequencies that you'll see. In FM radios, you'll see 10.7 all the time, and in AM radios, you see 455 kilohertz all the time. Well, this radio uses both, and that's because availability of filters. You can find lots of these filters, you can find lots of these filters, so they just said, okay, everybody else uses those, so we're going to use those too, standardize. Now, to take the 10.7 and convert it down to 455, you mix it with 10.245 megahertz, okay? So that you get the 0.455 megahertz, right? That's 0.455. And if you add that and that, you get 10.7. And then once you get the 455 kilohertz, then you can mix it down into audio and then convert the FM to AM audio, right? So there's a speaker here. So at the very end, they do the what's that thing called? Oh shoot, that thing is called discriminator. That's it. They call it different things, discriminator, some other names. So that's the way this radio works. So let's take a look at the bottom half of this radio. All right, so this is the radio. Let me give you a brief tour of the radio here. Let me get my pointer out. So the antenna is over here, so the connector comes in here. So the transmit path is this direction. So the transmit path starts here and goes through these filters and then goes over here to the amplifier and heads this direction to the main, to the 10 watt transistor, which is here, and then goes out, okay? The input path goes, at the same point comes in. The last thing that the transmit does is it goes through this circuit here. This is the SWR bridge, okay? So it monitors the amount of power going out and monitors the level of power coming in. And it can measure SWR, and it can measure signal strength by injecting a signal back into the meter circuit. So you can watch the S meter. But this is the bridge here. Way down in there is the bridge. It's hard to see. Later on I'll show you that on a different video, but there's a tiny little bridge there. All right, so how does the receive circuit work? Well, the receive circuit has to go through that SWR bridge, and then the very next thing it goes is down here. So what is this down here? Well, right here, this can here and this little transistor here is the front selector, the pre-selector and amplifier. So this is a pre-selector and amplifier for the front end. Once it gets amplified, then it needs to go through that filter that I drew, which is the 145 to 146 megahertz filter. And that's this filter here. It's a very fancy one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 resonant cavity filters. So the receive path starts here, gets amplified, sends through here, and then it makes a turn, and it goes this direction. All right, and then it gets mixed right here. All right, it gets mixed. There is a local oscillator here, which is the this is the 10 point. Let's see here. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself. So over here is the mixer. So it comes in at high frequency, and then the VCO somewhere else mixes it down to 10.7, and that's going to happen over in here. All right. And then this filtering here is used on the transmit section, not the receive section. And then it comes over to here, which is the mixer with the 10.24 megahertz. Let's see, this is the 10.7 megahertz filter right here. So this one is the selector here, 10.7, and this is the 10.245. And then it goes down. It goes this direction, okay? And right here in here, these two items right here are 455 kilohertz filters. There's 2 of them back to back. I showed that once before, that if you stack filters up, you get better response. So they send it through one filter, and then they send it through a second filter back to back to get even better. And then it heads this direction. And right here is another 455 kilohertz resonator. And so this is the LO for the second conversion. And then it goes out to amplifier and speaker. All right. So that's how all of that stuff works. All right. Like I said before, there was a little, there's a single sideband section where the IF can also come in. You can send the signal up to single sideband, and it can bring its own IF in, its own 10.7, and it injects it here. So it has 2 ways of getting the 10.7, either directly or through the single sideband circuit, which we're not going to use. But the nice thing about it is now we have a connector that we can bring in a signal generator, and we can actually insert the signal right here. Okay. And then we can take a look through the filter. So let's turn up the volume here. Let's see, where's my volume knob? Okay, let's disconnect this. I'm going to turn up the volume. Okay, and we hear a lot of static, right? Now I'm going to put in the 10.7. In fact, if I just start to get close, it goes quiet. So why is that? Well, that's because we have a carrier. And we have a carrier, but we don't have any modulation on the carrier yet. So let me go add some modulation. Walk over to my other machine here. All right. So now I'm injecting 1 kilohertz of modulation, FM modulation, and we're getting a signal. All right. So we can use spectrum analyzers to go sniff around in here. I've showed that before, but we'll go ahead and do it in this video just for fun. See if we can find the local oscillator here, the 10.245, and then see if we can find the 455 and take a look at those. In the circuit, we're going to use a spectrum analyzer, and we're going to use a non-contact probe, which I've shown before. So we're going to probe around up here. First of all, we need to set our frequencies. Let's put a 10.7 megahertz center frequency. Oops, 10.7 megahertz center frequency, which I'm failing to do. 10.7 megahertz. There we go. And we'll do a span of, let's say, 5 megahertz. All right. And auto. And we'll start probing around, and look at that. As soon as I start probing around, we see a signal. So I'll just kind of jam this there. Hopefully it stays. We can go up to our focus. There we go. We can go up here, and we can peak search it. We can go to the center. We can zoom in on it, and we will peak search. We can do a track, so it goes in the center. We can turn our counter on, and we are measuring 10.2447, 10.2446, 10.2447, anyway. So we're getting our 10.25 LO, and so that one's working quite well. All right, so let's turn these things off. All right. Let's do frequency of 455 kilohertz. And I'll do a span of 100 kilohertz. So that'll be interesting. So let's widen out again. So let's go probe around for that. Now, the filters are here. And, oh, there's maybe just a little hint there. But the LO is down here. So let's go down to the LO and see if we can't find a healthier signal. Yeah, there we go. Boom, look at that. There we go. So we're getting a very, very nice, healthy signal down here, and we can span and move in on that thing, and you can see the FM modulation on it even. So it's down near the mixer. And we're seeing modulation, and our center frequency is at 455 kilohertz. So yeah, it's spot on. So everything's working good in this receiver, which we already knew. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to show that off and have at least a video today that does something instead of the circuit I built that does nothing.